the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
The game down there, and I'm sure they're going to try to do something to entice the schools to continue to want to have that game in Jacksonville.
I like it.
But that was part one of the dog bites. Second part.
Oh, there's a part two?
Second part, we're talking recruiting. I actually
give you two parts on a week that Tennessee just won a national title. Do you get a two-part dog bites?
Two-part dog bites. Isaiah Gibson, sir, 5-star, just decommitted from USC, commits to the Bulldogs. The recruiting landscape also got an inside offensive lineman. Don't remember his name off the top. Glover, I want to say.
Dontrell Glover from Langston Hughes.
Yeah,
4-star interior guard. Yeah, he's a guard.
So, yeah, Georgia's just absolutely on fire on the recruiting trail. And I was looking at...
Well, hold on. I wouldn't say you're on fire. CJ Wiley with a stunner this afternoon out of Milton High School, the 4-star receiver.
Well, you'll never win them all.
Earns the Dogs for the Florida State Seminoles.
No, that's true. That shocked everyone. I think both parents went to LSU, and I think someone said a Florida State reporter wasn't even at his commitment. Like, he just kind of surprised everybody. But I'm not going to get into anyone's personal life, judging their decisions and how they're doing it. But did you see this man's interview afterwards? It was like, my recruitment's still open. I'm still going to visit schools. I'm just with Florida State now. And it was like, oh, okay. It sounded like the least commitment of all time. But
honestly, that's smart. Like, to just be like, well, I'm committed, but that doesn't mean you can't work hard to. I haven't signed anything yet. That's how you should play it. Honestly, is to be like, to see what else you can get. Like, see if things change. Like, I think it's smart to play it that way.
Yeah, I mean, do what you got to do, So, but I'm not saying he's going to decommit. I have no idea. Never met the guy, but he doesn't sound the most committed. And we know Kirby's going to keep coming after him. So, but yeah, you can't get them all. So he does commit to FSU today. So Georgia didn't get that one. But the fact that Justice Terry, the other 5-star defensive lineman from Manchester, he and Isaiah Gibson, I want to say, committed to USC on the same day, and then both decommit from USC like a day apart, both 5-star prospects from the state of Georgia. I would imagine they talk. I would imagine they chat. They're friends. The fact that now Isaiah Gibson has committed to Georgia, it feels like Justice Terry has to be. And he was once a Georgia commit. So maybe now he's committed to Georgia. He's decommitted, committed to USC, decommitted. Maybe we'll just take it to signing day and, figure it out from there. I'm not saying he's going to pull the trigger anytime soon, but Georgia's got to love where they sit right now. You look at the state of Georgia, there's 7 5-stars in the state of Georgia this year. Juju Lewis committed to USC. The other 3 that are committed are all committed to Georgia. And there's 2 more 5-star, number 1, number 2 defensive tackles in the country, both out of the state of Georgia. Like, this thing, you look at what Georgia signed the last couple years on the defensive side of the ball, and it's absurd. I was stacking this up. 2022 signed 5 5-stars, a safety, D-line, cornerback, edge, linebacker. 2023, you signed 4 5-stars, safety, D-line, cornerback, linebacker. 2024, you signed 4 5-stars, safety, corner, and 2 5-star linebackers. And right now, Georgia's got a 5-star edge committed, a 5-star linebacker committed, and then the two other defensive linemen I just talked about aren't committed, but obviously everyone's trying to get Elijah Griffin I think is his name, at the number 1 defensive lineman. Obviously, everyone's trying to get that guy. And that's just in the state of Georgia. Obviously, Georgia could land someone who's not in state that's a big-time player. But it's just absurd what they're doing in defensive recruiting right now. And from what the recruiting calendar has become, this June-July period is when all the commits are coming. And you've seen, I think Georgia's now up to the 2nd or 3rd ranked class in the country. And yeah, it's Elias Williams is actually in that last 4-year period. He's the only offensive 5-star they've signed. All of them have been on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Well, we're going to get into the blue chip ratio and where teams fall, because Georgia's actually not number 1 right now in blue chip ratio going into next year. And when you look at this class that this team has right now, they have 2 5-star corners in it. We'll talk about them in a second. But I think Georgia, it's one of those things where 2 things can be true. Georgia, and this is something that Tennessee fans, like one of the harder things about Tennessee football and getting to where they need to go is they have to win some big boy battles in the state of Georgia for like the Mike Matthews of the world, like Isaiah Gibson, who they battled for here before we ultimately chose the Dawgs. Like, you're going to win some of them. You're going to win some of these battles. You talked about this in the program last week, but I think one of the things that will help Georgia sustain this level of dominance is that the state of Georgia may have the best high school football across the country right now. And it's not hard to keep guys home. And that's like one of the things where I think people have been dunking on USC for losing Justice Terry and Isaiah Gibson. And I don't understand that, because it's hard to get these kids to move, like extremely talented kids that Lincoln Riley knows he needs to ultimately win a national title. Lincoln Riley knows he needs more Bear Alexanders on his defensive line. He knows he needs more stars. And the problem is, look at the sport. Look at what is happening to West Coast football. The Pac-12 is gone. Like, you see where the talent's coming from. Yeah, California has a lot of quarterbacks coming out of there, but you don't see a lot of big-time defensive linemen being brought up in.
Sorry, that's just like the culture we live in now. It's like you lose in the championship, that's who gets trolled on social media. It's like, we were in the championship. We were the second best team in the league. Like, it was impressive that Lincoln Riley even got those guys committed to begin with. But obviously there's no points for second place.
And it's like, what do you want him to do? Like, he understands what he has to do to get to the next level. Like, do you want Lincoln Riley to not take swings at these Georgia kids and see if he can, because he got it last year. Like, Cam Fountain was a 4-star edge guy from Georgia. He pulls him across the country. He's there right now. It happens. It's just, you're not going to be able to, it's just hard, because guess what? Kids and their families want to be able to see their kids play. Like, you, vice versa. You want family to be close by. It's easy to sell Georgia to a 5-star kid in the state of Georgia to stay home. Like a Warner Robins kid, that's not a far, like, it's a drive, but it's not like, hey, this is just, we're going to have to fly across the country. Yeah, like, it's just different. Like, it's a different kind of sell. And some kids are going to be up for it, some won't. But to dunk on USC for losing 2 5-star defensive linemen to the state of Georgia, into the biggest college football empire going right now, and the Dawgs, I don't really get that. I don't think Lincoln should get, and USC should get any flack for what they're trying to pull off. I will say,
no, I'm with you there.
Losing
and
those two,
clear, Justice Terry is uncommitted at this point.
Right. And we'll see. I think he was at, Alabama's in it pretty big last I saw. Was he there this past weekend? I think he had an OB at Alabama this past weekend. But USC now, I'm scrolling after losing those 2 5-stars. Where is USC on where did they drop to after losing? Because they free fell with those 2 5-star falls. They're 22nd now in recruiting. They went from like top 8 with Isaiah Gibson and Justice Terry to barely in the top 25. Like, it's just, that's brutal for USC fans. But by and large, like, USC, keep trying to do that. Like, keep trying to get these guys in the boat. If they commit to you early and then they flip, whatever, like, get them in the boat, because you're going, like, that's the other part of it. It's like, they are going to keep some of these guys. Like, Georgia's going to try and flip these guys back in the next cycle, whatever. USC, just keep doing it, because you're going to eventually, you are going to get some of these kids. Like, it's going to happen. And if you keep winning, like, it's going to be easier. Like, I don't know. I just, the reaction to Georgia flipping these guys, and Georgia fans like, oh, this is what happens when you mess with Kirby Bowl. I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I mean, it's good that your team got him, and Georgia, they're going to be really good at Georgia, this, that, and the other. But like, let's not dunk on USC for trying to get the guys that you also covet and want on your football team.
Well, Georgia fans can dunk on them because they got the commitment, you know? So yeah, whatever. You flipped him. You can celebrate, do whatever you want. But I wonder, do we see like USC, like when they start to play these Midwestern schools, like, does that give them a blueprint like in the Midwest, and they can start to get some of these big offensive linemen, some of these big boys they got out in the Midwest, get a little more physical? Could that sort? I don't know. That sort of thing could happen.
It could happen. All right. I can't believe I gave you 2 dog bites on championship week here.
I'm just bringing good stuff. That's why.
There you go. EA Sports, though, they released their top 10 toughest places to play for the upcoming NCAA 25 football game here.
And everybody agreed, and there's no story at all, right?
No. I will go ahead and tell you, I haven't played a video game in like a decade. I don't know if you're getting the game or you're planning on it. It doesn't move the needle. I read it and you just immediately know that fans are going to get upset about this. It's content. And you knew like every podcast, college football podcast, was going to talk about this. We were going to see the graphics. Everyone was going to have their own perspectives on it. I'll run down the top 10 here.
Man,
I'll just go ahead and tell you.
You just 8-miled me right there.
I what?
8-miled me.
Hate to
Like
see it.
The whole the freestyle where he says what the guy's gonna say before he says it. Whatever. Go ahead.
I haven't seen 8 Mile in a long time. That was a deep pull.
I think I heard Jordan Klepper drop that line recently. So I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I tried to use it off. It didn't land.
There you go. Hey, sometimes that's just how it works sometimes. However, Matt Green, the top 10 here, I have for you: Texas A&M at 1, Alabama at 2, LSU at 3, Ohio State at 4, Georgia at 5, Penn State at 6, Wisconsin at 7, Oklahoma.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.